Coca-Cola and Pepsi, two of the most iconic brands in the world. These rivals have been battling for over a century, yet they both sit at the top of the beverage industry. But what makes them so popular? Is it their taste, their marketing, or something else? Today, we'll explore the history, taste tests, and even the health impacts of these two legendary drinks. So, let's dive in. Created in 1886 by Dr. John Stith Pemberton, a pharmacist from Atlanta, Coca-Cola was originally intended as a medicinal tonic. It was sold as a remedy for headaches and fatigue. Little did Pemberton know that his creation would become one of the most recognized brands worldwide. By the early 20th century, Coca-Cola started expanding beyond local markets and introduced the classic glass bottle, which quickly became a symbol of refreshment. The iconic red and white branding followed, cementing the drink's place in history. On the other hand, originally called Brad's Drink, Pepsi was created in 1893 by Caleb Bradham, a pharmacist from North Carolina. It was marketed as a digestive aid, much like Coca-Cola, but in 1903, the drink was officially renamed Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi began to differentiate itself by targeting a younger audience, and in the 1950s and 60s, it really began to position itself as the fun alternative to Coca-Cola. Over the decades, Pepsi has created countless memorable advertisements and iconic celebrity endorsements, including the likes of Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, and Beyoncé, which helped them carve out a dedicated fan base. Now the big question, what about taste? This is where the real debate between Coca-Cola and Pepsi begins. In a blind taste test, many people say they prefer one over the other, but the real question is, why? Coca-Cola tends to have a sharper, more vanilla-forward taste with a slight bite from its citrusy notes. Pepsi, on the other hand, is often described as sweeter and more citrusy, with a smoother, lighter mouthfeel. In blind taste tests, some people claim to prefer Pepsi for its sweeter profile, while others swear by Coca-Cola's crisp and more complex flavor. According to several taste studies, the preference really depends on individual taste buds and regional biases. In the US, Coca-Cola tends to hold the edge in market share, but Pepsi dominates in other markets, particularly in the Philippines, India, and some European countries. Now let's talk about something that is becoming more important for consumers: health. Both Coca-Cola and Pepsi are carbonated soft drinks loaded with sugar, artificial ingredients, and caffeine, which isn't exactly great for your health in large quantities. Let's start with the sugar content. A 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola contains about 39 grams of sugar, while Pepsi has around 41 grams. While that may not sound like a huge difference, over time, those extra couple of grams can add up. Both drinks have around 150 calories per can, and both contain high fructose corn syrup, which has been linked to various health concerns, including obesity and diabetes. As for caffeine, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi contain caffeine, but the levels vary slightly. A can of Coca-Cola has around 34 milligrams of caffeine, while Pepsi has 38 milligrams, so not a huge difference, but enough to keep you alert. In terms of health risks, both drinks have been criticized for their potential impact on heart health, causing an increase in blood pressure due to their high sugar content. Some studies suggest that regularly consuming these sugary drinks can also increase your risk of metabolic syndrome and tooth decay. However, in moderation, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi are unlikely to cause severe health issues. The real issue arises when these drinks are consumed in large quantities as part of a regular diet. In 1975, the Pepsi Challenge was one of the most significant marketing strategies in the history of the soft drink industry. Pepsi conducted blind taste tests in various locations across the US, where consumers were asked to choose between Coca-Cola and Pepsi without knowing which was which. In many cases, participants preferred the taste of Pepsi, and Pepsi used this as a central theme in their advertising campaign. The Pepsi Challenge was a direct attack on Coca-Cola's image, which led to Coca-Cola making some adjustments to their marketing and even product formulas. The campaign was incredibly successful, forcing Coca-Cola to reassess its approach and compete head-to-head with Pepsi, intensifying their rivalry. The Pepsi Challenge became an iconic part of advertising history and was a major reason behind the increased focus on blind taste tests in the beverage industry. In 1985, Coca-Cola made a bold move by changing its classic formula and introducing New Coke in an attempt to compete with Pepsi's rising market share. New Coke was sweeter and smoother than the original recipe, more in line with Pepsi's flavor profile. However, the public reaction was overwhelmingly negative. Coca-Cola fans were loyal to the original taste and rejected the new version. The backlash was so intense that within just 3 months, Coca-Cola reintroduced its original formula, branding it as Coca-Cola Classic. The New Coke fiasco is often cited as one of the greatest marketing blunders in history. However, interestingly, the failure of New Coke ended up benefiting Coca-Cola in the long run. The return of Coca-Cola Classic created a huge surge in demand, and the original formula became more iconic than ever. Pepsi had a long-standing relationship with celebrities, but one of the most famous endorsements was with pop legend Michael Jackson. In 1983, Pepsi signed a contract with Jackson to be the face of their advertisements, but in 1993, an accident occurred during the filming of a commercial where Michael Jackson's hair caught fire due to pyrotechnics. Although Jackson was not seriously injured, the incident generated a lot of media attention. Pepsi paid for Jackson's medical bills and even donated a substantial amount of money to his charity. Despite the accident, Jackson and Pepsi's relationship continued for years. The partnership between Pepsi and Michael Jackson helped Pepsi solidify its appeal to a younger audience. Jackson's endorsement led to the Pepsi Generation slogan, which became synonymous with the brand, and their commercials became cultural milestones. In 2000, Pepsi filed a lawsuit against Coca-Cola for allegedly stealing Pepsi's marketing ideas. Pepsi claimed that Coca-Cola had copied its idea for a bottled water brand, accusing them of attempting to steal market share by launching a new product that was too similar to Pepsi's Aquafina. Coca-Cola denied the accusations, and the lawsuit was eventually settled outside of court. While this lawsuit wasn't a massive public spectacle like some other moments in the rivalry, it showcased the intense competition between the two companies and how even minor marketing and product similarities were enough to provoke legal action. In 2002, Pepsi launched a highly successful promotion called Pepsi Stuff, which was a rewards program that allowed customers to earn points from Pepsi products and redeem them for merchandise. The campaign included a variety of items, from t-shirts and CDs to larger prizes like a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The program became a huge success, driving up sales and boosting brand loyalty. One of the most memorable moments of the campaign was when Pepsi was accused of being too aggressive in its marketing after a commercial jokingly showed a man attempting to redeem enough points for a fighter jet in an exaggerated, over-the-top way. Pepsi's Pepsi Stuff campaign helped create a stronger connection with consumers, especially the younger generation. It not only boosted sales, but also became an iconic example of how promotional campaigns could create massive brand engagement and loyalty. Coca-Cola has been a long-time sponsor of the Olympic Games, and in 2009, they celebrated their 100th anniversary of being a part of the Olympic movement. Coca-Cola became the first company ever to be an official sponsor of every modern Olympic Games, starting from the 1928 Amsterdam Games. This anniversary highlighted Coca-Cola's long-standing relationship with the event and solidified its position as one of the biggest and most recognizable brands in the world. Coca-Cola's association with the Olympics has helped reinforce its global identity as a unifying, celebratory brand. Pepsi, on the other hand, has never had the same level of consistent involvement with the Olympics, which reinforced Coca-Cola's long-standing advantage in sports marketing. In 2011, PepsiCo announced a significant shift in its product offerings, aiming to focus more on healthier food and beverage options. This included launching low-calorie versions of its drinks, expanding its portfolio to include healthier snacks like Quaker Oats, and Tropicana juices, and even experimenting with healthier sodas like Pepsi Next, which had a reduced sugar content. This was in response to growing consumer demand for healthier alternatives to sugary soft drinks. The move represented Pepsi's effort to evolve in a market increasingly concerned with health and wellness. While Coca-Cola has also made similar moves, Pepsi was seen as a leader in diversifying its portfolio and appealing to health-conscious consumers. So, which is better for you? In terms of taste, it really comes down to personal preference. Coca-Cola for that sharp, slightly bitter taste, or Pepsi for its sweeter and smoother flavor.